What we're going to cover today is why you need systems for bookings. There's a pretty obvious answers in there. What to look for in a booking system, and the Calendly feature list. I'll go through quite a few of the different things that Calendly does that will make it a lot easier for you to accept bookings. And then we're going to look under the hood. We're going to go live into my Calendly installation. I pay for mine, so I get a few more options than what you do for the free, but I'll indicate along the way where the differences might be and where you might have to consider that's maybe a little different. So why do you need a system for bookings? And this is probably going to be the shortest webinar you've been on with us for a while, because Calendly is not a complicated system. It's rather simple. And for most small businesses, its most simple features will work really well for you. But I've found that a booking system is necessary for syncing your calendar. So for instance, when someone books something, we avoid that. I'd like to call it the back and forth, are you available shuffle. And that shuffle is usually like, okay, I'm available at 2 p.m. on Wednesday and 3 p.m. on Thursday. And they came back and say, oh, I'm not available those. What else have you got? And you go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Honestly, it's easier if I just send a link and someone works out whether it's appropriate for them. I like it when people send me that as well, because I can then fit the time. I had one of my the guys I follow very closely on LinkedIn, who I've got a lot of time for, and I've been wanting to meet for ages. We finally decided we're going to meet up on a Zoom call, and he sent me a link to a Calendly calendar, and it was awesome because it actually synced up. His Calendly and my Calendly could read each other's availability. So it says you're not available at this time, or you are available, and it brought up the combined availability times of the two. So that connection to your calendar, really important, because it means that you're not double booking things. Sometimes mine do, because I've got multiple systems. You want to sync your availability, and this allows someone to very easily see that you are available that time and they can book you. Even if those bookings are 3 weeks out, like mine are currently, it's still good for them to see a time that suits them. And automated reminders are part of these systems, whether you pay for them or not. In the case of Calendly, you will get an automated reminder via email for the free accounts, but you can add in SMS as well, SMS reminders for the paid version of Calendly. And I've found that that's been particularly good for me, because my clients don't tend to miss those meetings. Very, very rarely does anyone ever miss them, because they've been given an email reminder and an SMS reminder as well. And from those reminders, they can start that session when it's time to. For me, it's a way better and way smoother customer experience. I'm not doing that back and forth shuffle. It's not impinging my day. It's not frustrating them when they can't find a time that suits them. They just simply go in, pick the time that suits them, send their email address and their phone number. And if they send the phone number, I send them SMS reminders, not even realizing I'm doing it. It automatically happens for me. So the brand experience is much cleaner. So we know why we'd need it. What is the scenario that we'd need one of these? And the scenario would probably be where someone's booking a tour with you. Yeah, you can actually use this as a tour system. There's a group section where, for instance, in the paid version of Calendly, if you want a group workshop, you've got room for 6 people in your group workshop or 6 people on a tour. People can book those individual 6 places in that tour. So it's not just availability at 10:30 a.m. on the 21st of July, it's availability for 6 people, and each one of those people can book it in. So that if you have a minimum of maybe 3 people in there, you can quickly see whether those 3 bookings are being taken and whether you need to cancel, reschedule, or refund people's money. You can book lessons. That's a very, very common usage for it. I think for piano teachers, I've seen this used really well for piano teachers who have, particularly people who have an availability of just themselves at a specific time and a specific date. Consultations, pretty much the same as lessons. That's what I put on mine as my consultations. Of course, if you come through Business Station, you book me through Business Station's Adams system. If you come to me through Business Station's Entrepreneurship Facilitators program, then you probably come through a Calendly link with me as well. Quite often, if I need to reschedule someone who's made a previous booking we've had to cancel, I'll offer them my Calendly calendar, because it's just simpler and it syncs with all of my calendars, the Business Station one, my own one, my Clickstarter one, and whatever calendars I'm using at the time. Booking visits is also a really good thing for doctors, for for real estate agents to be able to book in inspections with people wanting to see a house. So they can limit it to say 50 people coming to that inspection, and they can see right on there who are the people who are coming, as well as their contact details. So there's no real need, if you're a small real estate agent, to use a real estate booking system. You can just use something like Calendly. And the reason why I would use Calendly, because it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than most of these booking systems. There's a free version for one kind of event. So if you're only doing one kind of booking, a 1 hour booking that's for your consultations, you probably will not have to pay for that again, unless you wanted to add additional things like people paying for your time, which they can do through PayPal or Stripe. And we'll look at those features really soon as well. Businesses that these may really suit is the obvious thing is consultants and advisors. Babysitters is one you probably haven't thought of, but babysitters are, again, can only book themselves in a certain amount of time, or you can have different calendars for different babysitters being booked at different times, which is all dependent upon their own calendars that are linked. Coaches, tutors, trainers, tour operators, hairdressers, skin consultants, beauty therapists, all these kind of people are able to make use of a system like Calendly because it does allow time to be booked out. What you're really looking for in a system like this is something that's going to show and sync your availability. You also want to have something that allows you to have those multiple attendees. So if it's a workshop, you can take workshop bookings through here as well and have, you know, a limited amount of people that can book into that workshop. And it's good for putting in breaks and buffers. So for instance, you can put in a certain calendar availability that you have. So if you're only available on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, then you only make those bookings available on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, regardless of what your core calendar is saying. So if you have a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar that is saying, well, I'm available Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, your calendar on Calendly can be made more specific to say, no, I'm only available from 9 to 5 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and it will not book times outside of that instruction. If you have no availability on your core calendar on Tuesday and Wednesday, it will then go to the next available Tuesday and Wednesday it is. I put a lot of breaks and buffers in here and say, for instance, the buffer between events or the buffer between bookings for me is about 15 minutes. I don't want to be working 5 hours in a row without any break whatsoever. We need to eat. We need to go to the toilet. We need to wash our hands. We need to drink water. We need to get up out of our seats and walk around. So a 15-minute break can be put into your Calendly settings. So it forces that break so nobody's booking over your buffer times when you've got to take care of your life. Now, the bare minimum to expect out of a system like this would be, yes, to allow to sync with your calendar. Yes, to allow reminder emails. Automated reschedule and cancel ability. That's one of the things I really do like about Calendly, is that it puts links in those reminders that say, if you need to reschedule, click here. If you need to cancel, click here, and then they'll make the whole thing happen. Now, I have never had someone cancel a paid session with me before, so I'm not really sure whether it then takes the cancellation and refunds the fee, but you will have a cancellation policy that may say, hey, it won't happen straight away, or cancellations within 24 hours will not be refunded, or you can have your own refund policy that's inside Calendly, and I'll show you what that is. The website widgets and booking buttons are absolutely vital because you've got a website you probably spent a lot of time or money on, and you want it to look good. So you don't want to be just throwing any old calendar embed in there that's going to look terrible. Calendly allows you to, with the paid version, which I think I'm paying about $10 a month for now, or $12 a month for now in US dollars, allows me to then customize what my widgets and booking buttons look like. So that if I put it onto my Clickstarter website, I can customize it to the pink that appears on the Dante St. James channel, or the purple that appears on my Clickstarter website. So we can change those things all around. The extras that might be really useful for you is things like custom questions. So it's just, instead of contact details like name, address, email address, phone number, you can add in custom questions that have pull down options. You have radio buttons, check boxes, all those kind of different questions, so you can get more information and pre-qualify people. That pre-qualification won't necessarily stop them from being able to book, but it will at least tell you what you need to respond with. So if you need to say, actually, we won't be able to help you out, but thank you for your inquiry, you can do that based upon the answers you provide, as long as you put those custom questions in. You can have additional information fields that you need, pretty much the same as custom questions, where you just go, okay, I need the postcode, or I need their ABN, or I need something that qualifies that person to book time with you. And there's lots of different multiple kinds of appointments. As we'll see in my one, I've got a dozen or so different kinds of appointments that people can book depending on what it is. They have different availabilities. Excuse me. They have different different lengths of time as well. You only get one of these types of appointments in the free version of Calendly, which is what's going to suit 99% of small businesses anyway. For me, I've got a complex life with lots of complex inputs and lots of different programs that have different availabilities and times. So then I need lots of different kinds of appointments. So I pay for the paid version of it. Which, talking about payments, you can add payments to the booking. It'd be really nice, wouldn't it, if you did not have to go chasing invoice payments, having to remember to send an invoice for a meeting. You can actually have someone book and pay for you. Now, I've had 2 people this week pay my top rate for my time outside of work. So, I work a full-time contract here with Business Station. And then after work and on weekends, I will work with my private clients. But given that that is in my free time and in the time of my life, it's going to cost money. So I can put a charge on that. In my case, it's $150 at the moment for one of those bookings. And I can put that on there, and it's processed through a payment processor called Stripe. You can also do that through PayPal as well, so that those payments happen automatically. And of 150, I get about 146.50 or 147.50 of that gets transferred through to my bank account. So it's low cost for those things, but it's so worth it to get that payment straight up front. So let's take a look under the hood of Calendly and see what we can do to enjoy what its different things are. Now, this is the Calendly website. I'm just going to log in. I'm actually already logged in, but what we might look at is, before we go in there, is a little bit about the pricing. The pricing of Calendly, I've currently got they've got new pricing now. So if we look at the free one, that's what you will want. And the plan you will get allows you to have one calendar connection. So you can just have Google or Outlook, depending on what you use. It does connect to iCloud Calendar as well, and Office 365. So iCloud is a nice addition if you're using Apple's calendar, particularly through your iPhone. You can access Calendly with the web, iOS, and an Android app. They've got different event types that are included. So at the free version, just one different appointment type. You can create one-off meetings. You can create one-to-one events. You can customize the booking link by saying it's calendly.com/my business. An automated event notification, but it's when you get to the essentials level that then you've got the unlimited active event type. So you don't have any limits on how many different kinds of appointments you've got. And when you see mine in a second, you'll see why that may be important. In terms of the extras that you get, you also get 2 different calendars you can connect to. So I've got both my Business Station, Office 365 calendar and my Google Calendar for my business are both connected. So what happens when it checks for availability, it will check not just one calendar, but both. It'll also say, oh, I'm not just looking for this as well. I'm going to send the meeting request to both of those as well. Now, at the moment, I've only got it going to my personal email because it doubles up anyway in the other one. But what I'm really most important is it does check both calendars for availability in case something has slipped through the cracks and hasn't been created right. The group events that are shown here, this is really important if, for instance, you're looking for creating workshops, seminars, where there's going to be a group of people in the one time. So that can be really, really useful for you. And look, for $8 US a month, which works out at around about maybe $12 Australian a month, That's not setting the world on fire in terms of that. It lets you send email reminders and follow-ups in that level. So the email reminders were once upon a time available in the free version. That's now being removed to the lowest version. And you can also update a cancellation policy of your personal preference, depending on what your cancellation policy happens to be, if you've thought that much. You can add links to confirmation pages to lead through to things, and you get lots of metrics and reporting, which I think is quite a powerful little tool. I'm currently on the $12 version, the professional version, which gives me a lot more links to calendars that I don't need. But what it does give me is one-off booking links that I can use very quickly, like one-off Zoom links that you get, the customized email messages, notifications via SMS, which is very important to me. The other thing is automated workflows. I can say, once you have made this booking, do this, email notify this, go into my HubSpot, do that. And I've actually connected my HubSpot, which is my email newsletter and customer relationship management system, is updated with this information. So if somebody books an appointment with me through Calendly, it then creates a HubSpot contact and puts that person into my mail list. So I never, ever miss out on someone going into my email list, which is why I've got 7,500 people in my mail list at the moment. It's just because I add literally everybody to that mail list because they've got a relationship with me. The Spam Act of 2003 does cover that I can do that. I can redirect people once they've booked to a certain page on my website. And like I said before, I'm getting these really cool metrics and reporting that I can call on, which gives me, things like how much did I make from my paid appointments this week or this month? That gives you a bit of an idea. I don't know if there's anybody really on this call who will need to go so for Teams, but Teams is more so, like how many people you're able to have that can access that one account. So that's really the only difference. I think the professional is just completely fine. And that's what I use because it allows you to be customized. It gives you integrations to things like HubSpot and a lot of other customer relationship management systems and email systems like MailChimp as well. So that's a bit of a rundown on what you're going to get. Now, these prices are billed annually. So I pay annually. I pay that $12 a month over 12 months. So it's about $240, I think it works out to be over 12 months. 12's a 24. That's right. I think that's right. No, I've got to do my maths. Whatever it ended up being, $120, about $150, I think it worked out to be. So whatever it was, I paid that up front because it billed monthly, it goes up a bit, $15 a month. Not a huge amount. So you might want to consider whether that is important to you to keep that lower, but you do save when you switch it to an annual plan. Looking at the product, we can see that there's a whole bunch of features in here that will help you. And then there's a whole lot of how different industries have used this as well. There's the whole meeting poll thing is an interesting little extra tool that wasn't mentioned in the features, but allows you to put out a request to people to vote on what they want to do as far as the booking time. I haven't used that one yet. I haven't needed to, but it has got some really good ideas around it that you can go, okay, team of 20 people, we can never decide on a meeting. Let's vote. And it votes on the available meeting times. And then once everyone's agreed, then you do the scheduling. So I think that's a really nice touch and really helps you to do more of that stuff. So let's pop into my account and you'll see what a bit of a mess it is. So as I'm logging into my account, it'll show you my different event types. So I've got one that's turned off here that I'm not using right now because I've replaced it with something else. And as I see more, there's more and more and more of them. So we'll start at the top at what the different appointment types I've had. So I started off with what I call the Entrepreneurship Facilitators Program Re-Engagement. That one is a 15-minute one-to-one call that I'll make that has a certain level of availability. If I want to put that into an email, I just simply copy the link and I paste that into my email. I can also just look at the booking page, which will show when I'm available for these 15-minute calls. So as you can see this week, I'm not available for a 15-minute call, strangely enough, until Thursday. That's how busy my week is. And the times in my time zone this is. So this will show in your time zone if you were looking at this particular one, what the availabilities are. Now, I'm not supposed to be working beyond 5 p.m. in my time. So I need to correct that. The unfortunate part will be that it then will remove my availability for a 15-minute call until next Friday. So that's kind of ridiculous. I'm happy to take a 15-minute call after hours. So I might just keep that one in there for now. So if I need to put that out there to people, I've then got the ability to do that. But I can also, up in the menu here, because I'm logged in, I can edit this event type. So if I wanted to push that out so there was no availability until after hours and there's only availability before hours, I can change those options. So let's see what that actually looks like. What it's telling me is, what event is this? I've given it a name, and I've also given it a range of different ways that this meeting can happen. In this case, those calls only happen over Microsoft Teams and over Zoom, but I can add another location option. If I really want to, I can do Google Meet as well, because I've got a Google Meet account, so there's no point me not having it in there. I might have, for 15 minutes, a phone call might be appropriate. So I'm going to add that, and I'm going to say that they provide the number and I will call them. So I'm going to provide that as well. So I've just now added 2 more options to my EFS re-engagement call, just quickly and simply. It's got those things in there already. And then I can have a little disclaimer down there. So you can, for instance, I need to mention that it's a free service and there's a brief registration process, and it is also a government program. So once you've got that all happily and safely in place, then we can then look at what you want the link to look like. Calendly.com/Dante St. James / whatever you want the rest of that to be. And I can color code it. Green is the color of that program. So I color code it to that. Save and close. This has now updated the event. So if I go into that calendar now, so let's look at it on the live page. I can now see that I've got the availability of those times. And if I choose one and confirm it, it's now giving me those extra options of a Google Meet and a phone call as well. Enter my name, enter my email. And if I really wanted, I could ask for their phone number in there as well. If they want to have a phone call, it says, oh, here's the number that you need to call, put in there. And I've also got the please share anything that will help prepare for our meeting as a default. So somebody can put a bit of information in there to let me know what our call is going to be about if they're booking it. That makes life a little bit easier. So if I look at all this and go, okay, these are my available times, I'm starting to see, yes, I do have a bit of an availability problem. I may want to convert that. Or if I want to look at it in your time, let's just say that you're in another time frame, that's set in my default settings. So I can change that default settings to see what it is in your time, though it doesn't really take a lot to calculate what these times are. So 2 p.m. in my time will be 2:30 in Queensland, and it will be 12:30 in Western Australia. So I just know because I work through those 3 time zones only. Troubleshooting is something you probably won't need to do because primarily this is only when there's problems, and I don't know what problems there really could be with this system. It's very, very easy to use. Next, now that we've established all that, we've established how this is going to happen, I'm going to move down to when people can book this event. So once I go in there, I can say they can book as far ahead as 2 months or 60 calendar days. I can make it so they can only book on weekdays. They can book a certain amount of calendar days into the future. Now, the reason why I limit it to 2 months, and I really should be limiting it to 30 days, is because I don't really know what my life is going to look like far beyond 30 days. I might be going on leave, and I don't want people booking so far ahead that it limits my amount of leave options I have. I can also say that if I'm going to close this program off for these bookings by September 30, which is actually the case within a date range, it ends on September 30. I can say, yes, they can book me right up until September 30. So August, September, apply. If it will let me. No, it won't. Don't know why it won't, but it won't. There we go, apply. So it's within a date range. So let's just say it's between now. So we say between the 1st of July and the 30th of September. I have to undo it again. Let's just cancel that and try one more time. July 1 to September 30, apply. Now we've got it. Or you can just say it's any time in the future. Now, the length of this particular meeting is where I set what it is. 15 minutes in this case, it can be whatever length you like. 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you like, up to 60 minutes, doesn't matter. You set it to what you want to set it to. The custom allows you to say things like that are outside of those timeframes. So you can just say 20 minutes, or you can say a certain amount of hours. So you can say it's a 2-hour meeting, and that's what it'll be. In my case, 15 minutes is enough for this. Now we set what my hours for this availability are. And you can see where I've set it previously from 9 to 6. My availability is not 9 to 6 anymore. It's actually 8 to 5. 8 to 5. Be nice if I could just copy it. I can actually copy and paste those times in. So, and look how it's actually got a Saturday in there. So I've got to take that out because that's no longer the case. 5:30, 5:30, 5:30. Take the 8 o'clock and I'll copy that in as well. So it gives me an extra hour in the morning, but it does take away an hour in the afternoon, which is going to affect my availability. Now, I can also set in particular date overrides. I can say, for instance, on a specific public holiday that I do not want those to happen. Let's just say for me, it is the 1st of August. So a date override for 1st of August, which is what we call a picnic day in Northern Territory. So Monday, the 1st of August, I would say that I am not available on that day because that is a public holiday. It will pick up like basic public holidays as well, but I may want to add in there, for instance, let's just say the next public holiday after that's probably not till Christmas. So I'll say the 25th, the 26th, the 31st is fine, and apply that. So it says I am available, but I want to say I am not available. So if I go back to December, go to the 25th, 26th, and then go remove it, I'm not then available. Then same for January 1, which is a Sunday anyway, so it won't be available, but it's nice to put it in there just to make that clear. So now I've set my availability. I'm going to move down and set the space between them. I was talking about buffer zones before and how important that is for me to be able to, I don't know, do things like go and get a drink of water, get up and walk around, have a lunch break. So I'll say, well, basically what I want to say is that you can book over certain times by lunch because my core calendar, my Google Calendar has blocked out lunch from August 1 through to eternity. So there's no way that someone can book over my lunch now. But what I might say is that I also want at least 15 minutes before and after that call to be able to prepare myself for the next call. Now, given it's only a 15-minute call, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes either side of it because I don't need 15 minutes to recover from a 15-minute call. I just need a quick opportunity to go refill my water bottle, go to the bathroom, get up and stretch, something like that. So I can say that, and then I've got that 5 minutes before and after. Then I might want to add some additional rules. So what I can do is say, you can only book me in increments of 30 minutes. So that will be at 12, 12:30, 1, 1:30, whereas I don't really mind when people can actually make these calls. So I'm going to make it every 15 minutes. I could actually make it every 5 minutes. So the availability at 5 p.m. will be 5, 5:05, 5:10, 5:15, 5:20. Even though it's a 15-minute call, we'll take up 3 of those slots. It'll calculate all that for you and correctly report it and combine it with the availability that's in your calendar, your core calendar as it is. So I might just pull that back to 15 minutes because it's going to make too many options for people and they get confused. Now I look at the scheduling. I can say, look, it's fine for me to get something 24 hours before, but let's say I'm sitting here at 1 o'clock in my time. I don't want something to drop in at 1:15 because it gives me no time to have prepared for that because I like to prepare my day at the end of the previous day. So at 4 p.m. this afternoon, I start planning my tomorrow. I'm happy to have things drop in up to that time, but for things to drop in on the day really can upset the day. So I'll say at least one day of the event start time. So for instance, you cannot book me now until 1 p.m. my time tomorrow, if it was available. I can also set a maximum number of times that this particular kind of meeting can occur in any one day. So at the moment, the maximum for me for these would be no more than 4. I would want no more than 4 of these because that's all up is about an hour's worth of time. And I don't want an hour of my day made up of these particular kind of calls because they are fairly low value to the program that it's in. And I'd rather, be working on other things and spread out a bit. And these calls can be quite a high maintenance, even though they're only 15 minutes. So I want to reduce those to just 4 a day. The time zone is either locked in for me, or we then go and see what the time is in your time zone. So I kind of like the idea. It says lock the time zone in best for in-person events, but I don't think it is best for in-person events. Well, I guess it is, because you're in the same time zone if you're meeting in person. So I'd say, well, we can lock the time zone, but I'm going to say let's automatically detect it where you are. So if you're in Perth, you'll see the Perth time zone. It makes sense in your calendar, not with any confusion. So I'll change that one over. I can also make this a secret event that does not show on my scheduling page. The scheduling page is a particular page you can go to and see all the availability for all my calendars, and then book whichever one you like. I'm going to hide this. I do not want that showing on my scheduling page. I only want people to know exactly this one when I send them the link for it. So now I've saved that. We can then add up things like a workflow or questions we're going to ask people. So let's start with the questions. I've got name, email. I've got what would you like to prepare this with? I'm going to add in another question called phone number. So it's a one-liner. Let's see if they actually got it. They might even have it. Phone number. There you go. It's a phone number. So it's called phone number. It's on. I'm not going to make it required, but I like to have the phone number in there simply because it's an extra way to contact people if something has gone wrong and they've missed that call. So I can't move it up above there because I've got to have the mandatory questions first, then I can have the extra questions. So now I've got that. I've got my extra questions, and I can add more of those if I want to. Let's close. Then I'll move on to workflows. Workflows are what I want to have happen with this email once it's done. So I can say add a workflow, and that workflow would be, here's the ones I have, which is the email reminder to invitee. So it's saying, email them once that's occurred. I think, yep, I'd like to do that. Is it already included in there? Well, the free initial consultation, one-to-one private, no, it's actually not included in there. So what I may want to do is add this and add that particular one to it. So my one-to-one is, let's select it. So I've got EFS re-engagement. That's the one there. So what I'm doing is adding this option to send the email and send a text to the person I'm invited to that. So that's now, so this is actually interesting. So I'm going through and finding mistakes I've made with setting this up in the first place, and I'm able to correct them. So once I've added that workflow, this now will automatically do it. I don't need to add more in there. It's now going to do that because it's now being set to send an email and a text notification and reminders. Next step is the notifications and your cancellation policy. So your cancellation policy, you can customize if you've got a paid version. The calendar invitations mean I can then personalize that. So the invitation says their name, it has a bit more information about the meeting, that kind of thing. So if I personalize it, I can see that I can add the full name of the person and my name. So it's a meeting between us, between them and me. So I can add in there meeting and then put that there. So it's nice and clear, and put an ampersand, it's a bit shorter, what this subject of that email invitation is. Right now it's saying event name, which is the EFS re-engagement, event description, location, and questions and answers that have gone in there. So they will see that and I will see that as well. Then I can say, do I want to? Now, remember we set those workflows where we added it to email and text notifications. We don't have to set a workflow. We can set email and text reminders and follow-ups at the end of the whole process after the event's over through here. So an email reminder, they'll get those email reminders before a scheduled event. I'm going to turn that on. I can then personalize that message and say, hello, this is a friendly reminder that you're meeting with, and I'm going to rip that out because I'm just going to say meeting or a call because it's not an in-person thing. With me is at this time on this date at this location. It's about this, and here's the additional questions and answers that we put in place. So I'm going to take that out because we don't need that. And it's just sent 24 hours before. I can then add a second reminder that sends it 1 hour before. So how about that? 1 hour before, there we go. So we've all set all the reminders we want. Now, a little nice thing that you can do is then add on a follow-up email. That follow-up email is, for instance, for you, if you want to ask for a review. You want to ask a review, it'll automatically send it out to say, hey, thanks for our meeting today. If you really enjoyed it, I'd encourage you to give me a review on Google or Facebook. Or it may be that because they're now on your email list, you may want to send them something that sort of makes them know that they're in that email list. So it might be a sample of your latest email. What I like to do in those cases, in certain emails and event types that I've got in here, is something which gives them, it sends them to an article. So I've got a specific article I want them to read on my website. So I say, because we talked about digital solutions in this, I'd like to make you aware of an article I wrote recently, which gives you a lot to do with the easy steps to take when it comes to selecting a digital product. Click here to read more. So it gives them a reason to develop a deeper relationship with you, with some of your content that you might have developed somewhere. Then your text reminders, I can set that as well. So I'm going to set text reminders personalized 24 hours before for this particular person. So they are reminded of what their meeting is. So I'm going to change that to meeting call with, call with me at this time on this date. And it'll add in cancellation boxes in there as well. Second one down here is this cancellation policy. You can actually include the cancellation and reschedule links. I want to do that in my SMSs and in my emails, so someone can go, "Oh, shoosh, I need to cancel that. It's 24 hours before. Oh, yeah, I've got to cancel that because I've got to go fly away or something." And your cancellation policy, you get to add, if you've got a paid version, you can then add in whatever special things. So for instance, if they cancel within 24 hours, their payment, if there was one, is forfeited. Or we can say no cancellations within 1 hour, whatever your particular policy is. I don't get too harsh on cancellation policies. So I look at it this way. When someone cancels, it lets me have room for someone else. And then we can then create a confirmation page. And in that, we can go, okay, we can have the display confirmation page, which is just the Calendly one, or we can make it go to a specific place. So we don't want this ability for them to see this default thing. I want a custom link on my website, which I can control the look and feel of if I wish to do that. Now, I don't have a custom link on at the moment, so I've just got the display Calendly confirmation page. That's enough for me right now. Now, the big kahuna, once we've saved all this in place, is to then, let me shut that. It won't let me do it. Go on, next. Cancel that one and close. The next thing is probably the big kahuna for me, and it's important for my personal and private ones. It might be for you too, is to collect payments. So this one does not need a payment because it is a free subsidized program by the government. But as you can see, I've set up my Stripe and PayPal accounts. I can set my Australian dollars, and maybe this was a $80 an hour session, $80 for 15 minutes. It's rather expensive, but I'm just not, and I can select either Stripe or PayPal for those payments. I've got both set up, but I usually use Stripe because the fees are less. In this case, I don't collect payments for it because it's a free service. And that is then set up and optimized this particular calendar event that I want to take bookings for. Like I said before, you only get multiple versions of this when you're paying for a premium version of Calendly. The free version just gives you one event type. So instead of seeing this page with quite a few different options in there, that's the one we just played with, it's now hidden. I can look at all of these and say, well, if you want to have a digital solutions reschedule, I might want to take a payment for that. Actually, I've got one down here, my private one-to-one session that's discounted. Let's see what that looks like when I've got payments being taken for that. Let's have a look. So all that same layout. You can book it over 60 days. So I'm going to reduce that down to 30 as well. We can say that the duration is 60 minutes, which it is, within a certain schedule that I've already got. So Sunday and Saturday are out, and it's between 9 and 5 p.m. So that's fine. I'm giving myself 15 minutes between each one because an hour, I need a bit of a break because I've been sitting and talking for a very long time, just like I'm doing in this webinar. The additional rules I have is it starts every 30 minutes. It's available. That's fine. I say they can't schedule within 4 hours. I'm going to change that within a day. So I don't want them to be able to book those within 1 day. And the maximum allowed events for this type of event, I'm just going to say 2 because it's 2 hours. Chance I won't have that availability anyway. automatically detecting the time zone. And I do want to make this a secret event because I don't want people just randomly booking me out of nowhere. Same thing with questions, name, email, in-person availability if I'm in Darwin, and that in-person availability is at a certain address. So I've set that to be at my address at my private office rather than here in Business Station, because I don't want to sort of use Business Station's facilities for my own thing. And then I've got, again, please share anything that will help us. The workflows are the same as everything else. I'll skip over that. The notifications I'll have will be in there as well. So I can turn on email reminders and text reminders for that. So it makes sure it does remind that the event is coming up. And then I can continue down for my confirmation page, which I've got, just going to Calendly, but here's my payment. See how I've set it, but Stripe payments at $82.50, which is basically $90 minus GST. The cancellations then are accepted with full refund up to the day of appointment is the payment terms I've got. So I will manually refund that right up to the same day of the appointment. I don't like to hold money over people. So I just go, look, things happen. I understand that. And the way I see it, that hour has been freed up for me to do something else with someone else. So I don't really mind. Once I close that, that's now reset. And I go back and I can change all these different ones. So my main thing I like to do is to make each one of these not visible. So this one hidden there, I don't want it to be visible on a particular, to everybody who goes to my Calendly page. So if I look at this, the event, I want to make it hidden. Again, down here. I want to make it a secret event and save. Once that's done, I go back. It's showing as a secret event with a little crossed out eye, so it's not visible. So that is basically what you can do. Now, there's one particular type of booking that I haven't shown you yet, which is the group booking. So let's just say we're adding a new event type. Now, the group booking is only available in the paid version of Calendly, so bear that in mind. Now, what you can do is create a group booking, which allows you to let multiple people meet with you at the same time. That sounds like a workshop to me. So that's what I'm going to use it as, or it might be a group session for something. You've also got the collective, which is hosting an event with another person and let people who have been invited pick a time when we're all available. So here's a bunch of options, pick the one we're all available, and then it will schedule it into the one that is voted to be the best. And then round robin means that, for instance, if you've got a counseling practice where you're just taking bookings for whoever's available rather than the particular counselor who that person is used to seeing, then what it will do is it'll book the first one with one of the counselors, the second one with the other. It'll go backwards and forwards between them so they're getting an even number of bookings. So that's a really good one. And this meeting poll we saw before, I was describing before, is where you can schedule a group meeting that offers different times up for a vote, and then you can schedule that collective meeting. But first up though, we need to add a group booking. This is the main one that we really are concerned with. So I'm going to call this one my LinkedIn group workshop. It's going to be at an in-person location. We're going to call that 2/70 Kavanagh Street, Darwin, which is the office space I'm in right now. Update that. So that's where we're meeting. I can type in a summary. This is an in-person LinkedIn growth workshop. I've got the event link that I've got, and now I can add how many people I'm allowing to come into this. So I'm going to put 20 as the limit. And what it's going to do, as people come to book this, it's going to show them how many spots are left. Color doesn't really matter to me. Now, next, I'm going to start putting in how far ahead can they book this. Now, what this is on a very specific date. It's going to be on this day in, let's just say, the 27th of, so I do 27 twice. It's on that day. So I click 27 twice on that day only for 2 hours. So I'm going to custom, which is hours 2 hours. And then it's going to be set in within a particular time zone. Now, I don't need any of that. I'm just going to set custom hours for this one because it's going to be on the 27th, which happens to be, didn't really take notice of that. But when was the 27th? 27th was on a Wednesday. So we're going to make it so it's only available to be booked on Wednesday at a specific time, which is going to be 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Let's find it back this way. There we go. And that will be the only date that's actually available to be booked in. And it doesn't really need to check my availability on my calendars because it's not taking that. It's a very specific time, and I'll make sure that that time, that date is blocked out. So it's only that one day that it can do it. I don't really need time before and after the event because it's a preset time that I'm doing. And all the other rules that apply to that I want to do, such as having a secret event, having people can't book a space within, say, 2 hours of it, because I need to know final numbers within 2 hours. That is fine too. And the automatically detecting the time zone means you see it in your time zone. As I move forward, I can then make that a paid workshop. So they're making recommendations that I lock the time zone. And that's because it's an in-person event. So I can go back in there and go, yeah, you know what? That's actually a good idea. So we're not confusing people. We can only see, because it's locked the time zone because it is in person in that same time zone. So if I'm hosting it in Perth, then everyone's in Perth because it's in person. If I'm hosting in the Gold Coast, then everyone's in the Gold Coast. Right. So as we keep going, I've got all these set up the way I want them to be in there. I can have my invitee questions, which could be things like make it a checkbox. I can say, what are your dietary requirements? And it's a required. I can say none, vegetarian, vegan. I can say gluten-free. If I'm really, really fancy, dairy-free. So you can't offer everything, but we can say, oh, they can have an other. So we can say, okay, they've got an other in there that they can enter. So once I've added that one, save and close it. Now I can see I can add my payments. So what I'm going to do, this particular workshop is going to be paid via Stripe at $150 per attendee. No refunds are offered. That's not actually legal according to Australian trade law. So I'd have to have some kind of requirement, like some sort of refund to be offered there. Save and close that. That's now set up my new page. So I'll look at that page and go, the LinkedIn group workshop is for 2 hours. It's not in July. It's in, come on. Well, it's not available because that time is not available. That's something I need to fix up. So let's go to my real calendar, right? You're going to look at how crazy my calendar is. Come on. So you look for a time that we can set it so you can actually see the availability. All right, here we go. So that's that week. Let's go to a week where I know I've got that space for you. So we're going to make it a 1 hour between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. on the 27th. So it makes it work. 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. Let's edit the event type. It's going to be 1 hour. And it's going to be between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. That was me trying to be clever and then finding out that my actual availability is so bad this month that I couldn't even do my example one. So let's go back into that particular live page. Let's see what's available now. It should now show the 27th. There we go. So $150 USD. I could have changed that to Australian. It's at that location for 1 hour. Click there and now I can book in. 20 spots left. Book in our first slot. And then here are the questions that I asked people to put. And this is exactly what the customer will see when they're booking that in. So I've now set up a group booking for a fictitious workshop, which I'll have to remove because that's not a real one. So now you've got an idea of how all this works together. What it does, so you actually saw the calendar syncing in option there, where it actually saw in action, it actually saw what happens when I set even a set time for something that isn't available in my calendar. So it does have some limitations where that may not be the case. So making sure you check all your checks and balances to make sure that time's available in your calendar before you set it in here. Otherwise, nobody can book it. Once one person's booked it, it's fine. It will keep booking that in. So you just need to then probably make your calendar not be booked in that time. So any other calendars you got cannot book into that time at all. It can get complicated. When you've got a calendar as messy as mine, it does get complicated. But for most small businesses, all you'll really need is one event type. And it could be just that somebody is booking into your time for 30 minutes for a coffee. I've even got my coffee one that I send out. It's the same availability as many, but I like to be sending people a link that says coffee with Dante. And it looks nice and friendly. And I can put a nice message with it. And look, I've got availability this Thursday for a coffee after hours, which is the only time I can really do it. Now I go, actually, you know what? I can do that earlier in the morning too. Let's edit that up. So I can actually meet with someone as early as 7 a.m. So I go there, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Actually, it's already got 7 a.m. in there. I'm just not available in those mornings. So yeah, that's an example for you. That's usually when I'm getting ready for work. That, my friends, is Calendly. I can set a custom availability for everything. That's my default availability. I can look at integrations that will help me to work with other systems. So in these cases, there is a Calendly Chrome app that sits in these little tabs up here that you can then book things very easily. For Edge, for Firefox as well. There's Calendly for Outlook. I've got it plugged into both Outlook and Gmail for workflows. You can have your Facebook pixel entered in there, as well as things like Google Analytics. I hook mine up to Google Calendar and to HubSpot. So I've got MailChimp, HubSpot, all hooked up in there, even to LinkedIn messaging if I want to use it that way. And then there's Microsoft Teams for those of you who use that. So there's a lot of different integrations that will automatically have. Even if you've got a Wix, WordPress, or Squarespace website, you've got something which can integrate that in as well. And then, of course, the important one I've got is Zoom, so that when it books in a Zoom call, it hooks into my Zoom account. So it sends a Zoom link that's from my account. Lots of integrations, lots of possibilities. That is pretty much what you get with Calendly. It's not much more fancy than that. It's just something which helps you to sync your calendar, take bookings, accept payments, all of those things without it being an absolute mess.